We are in the final of our regular Sundays in the season of Lent. Do you believe it? Next week is Palm Sunday. And we're in this great spot of almost, but not yet. And there's signs. And that's what I love about today, because today is for us. When we come to Easter, we're going to think about the resurrection of Jesus. And of course, that is for us. That is the miracle of God's promise for us. But today is when we're given the sure signs that even when we think, how can these bones live? Even when we're feeling like all of the life has been drained from us, and we can't see where God's breath might hold a new promise, a new path forward, a new hope for us, the signs are there for us, all around us, calling out to us. And what I love about the Gospel of John is that it's all about signs. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke love miracles. And I don't know about you all, but I struggle all the time with miracles. I mean, I believe in my heart in miracles, but if I was presented with one, I would have a hard time figuring it out, faced with it. But signs, they're all around us, and I see them all the time. And when I can't see them, because I'm feeling like these bones have no life left in them, I'm having that time, that place, then I can be assured that somebody around me, one of you all, is seeing the signs that I just can't take in at that moment, and hearing the promises that God has for us, that He will breathe life anew into me, into you, into all of the world around us and all of creation. We get to participate in that. That's, to me, what today's about. So we're going to do some participatory stuff. Did everybody get a copy of the paper next to the bulletin on the way in? If you didn't, maybe someone could help. Raise your hand if you didn't get the paper. Okay, a couple of you. Matthew can jet them around to everybody who didn't get one. So you need a paper, and we'll get those around.
Looks like a Tolkien fan did this.
Yeah. And then, okay.
We get to make noise?
We get to make noise. So we have this wonderful story of Ezekiel in the Valley of Dry Bones. And so we need the noise of bones. Would you offer people the opportunity to have
make noise?
Yes. If anyone would like the opportunity to make noise, there's that.
Do you want to make noise? You're
Jane likes to make noise.
Jane likes to make noise. I'm so quiet.
All right.
You want to make noise?
And then while those things are going around, I have one other important job. I need someone to be the voice of God. Who would like to be the voice of God? No one wants to be God? Okay, thank you. You got to have the microphone. There's the voice of God. No, it'll be these.
Marcus! You want to be noisy? Oh, you make enough noise for all of us.
Yeah. There are some soft eggs in here if you don't want to be too noisy.
Yeah. So my invitation to you is we're going to hear this story of Ezekiel and the dry bones a little bit differently. And then when we come to the end, we're going to read together these prophecies. And I want you to think all the way through, what are the signs that I'm hearing and seeing and experiencing that God's breath is filling us with life
These are cool.
again in this moment.
Is everybody?
And if you're part of our online congregation, we've put the prophecies in the chat. So when we get to that point, if you want to read along, you can do that too. And it's so great to see a great giant crowd in both places. Are we ready?
Is everybody unmuted over there?
I think so. All right, here we go. I thought that valleys were green and lush and full of sheep. Sheep, and streams, and let's face it, a lot of peace. But I have to tell you, not this one. One day, the Spirit swooped in and picked me up and then sat me down in the middle of a valley full of bones. God made me walk through them, and there were 1,000 of them, and they were dry and dead as can be. And God asked me,
Ezekiel, do you think these bones can live and breathe again?
Now, I'm thinking, can this be a real question? I mean, heck no. Bones are bones. They don't live again. That would be impossible. I mean, that would be impossible even for you, Lord. But, you know, you can't say that to God. So what I really said is, what do you think, Lord?
Prophesy to the bones, Ezekiel. Say,
Wait. Hold on a minute. I'm supposed to talk to the bones? Now, I'm a prophet. I already get grief from everyone. They think I've lost it. I'll never live it down if I start talking to bones. Well, God says,
it might be easier to talk to a pile of bones than to those stubborn people of mine.
I mean, God, you have a point. But, Lord, this is one of the weirdest things that you have ever asked me to do. And as I was saying this, God says,
Tell this to the bones. Listen up, you dry bones. It's me, God, and I'm going to bring you back from your dry, brittle deadness. I will make you live again. I will clothe you with muscle and flesh and skin. And then I will breathe over you, and you will live, and you will know that I am your God.
Well, no one was watching me, so I did it. I told those bones just what God said. And you know what? Those bones started rattling. And they were shaking. And they were making all kinds of noise. And they were coming together like whole skeletons covered with muscle and skin. And soon, there were new bodies. But then, it was quiet as a graveyard, and they lay there again. Now, see, that's what's wrong with this prophet line of work. God says do this, say that, it will come to pass, and the people will know that you're a prophet. Well, I have to say I'm still waiting on about half of those things, for which I was about to give God a piece of my mind. But then God says,
Call the breath, Ezekiel. Call the spirit. Say, come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these bones, that they might live.
So I called the breath, and it came. The breath of the earth filled those bones with life, and there were too many to count. And then God says,
Ezekiel, my people are like these bones. They are all dried up with no hope, no future. So tell them, tell my people.
all right, now it's your turn to read the promises. Are you ready? Everyone got their paper?
Yeah.
This is what we are telling the bones. Thus says the Lord, I will open the graves of their hearts. Thus says the Lord, I will give them spirit and hope and life. Thus says the Lord, I will bring them home. Thus says the Lord, then they will know me and how I love them. Thus says the Lord, then they will know that I, the Lord, can bring life even from death. Thus says the Lord, then they will know that whatever I say I will do for my people, I can be trusted to do. Thank you, everyone. So, just take a moment to think about all of those promises that God made. Now, this was promises made to a people who had spent generations in exile. And yet we know from hindsight that God would breathe life into them again and God would bring them home. So, looking at all of these promises, does anyone have signs that they're willing to share? That they have hope for what God's breath is bringing to us. God's breath of newness and life and promise and purpose and hope in our world, in our community, in this community, in your own life. Is there anything that anybody's willing to share today? Promises and signs that these bones will live. Go ahead, Beverly.
The beautiful blossoms, pink blossoms that are in bloom right now in the tulip trees.
Uh-huh.
I just, the joy of being in San Lorenzo Valley yesterday and seeing all that was just,
The tulip trees.
I knew that spring is coming.
Yeah, yeah. And if ever there was a winter when we really wanted spring, this is the one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And those tulip blossoms are amazing, and those trees are huge. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have signs of hope?
Yeah,
Susan?
I don't know if this is hope as much as just signs of God,
Yeah.
which is, some of you know, most of you don't, that there was a big tree that fell below our property on Tuesday morning, and I happened to be standing by the window, and because I'm a big fat dope, I didn't move from the window, but anyway, I watched it, and I stood right by the window and saw this tree, and it was one of the ginormous redwoods. It did not hit anything. It hit between two houses, and as it's coming down, it caught the high power lines and brought the high powered pole in our backyard down, coming down. And I'm watching it. I'm literally watching this pole coming at us. And again, stood right by the window. Okay, but watched it just come down going, ah, ah, ah. And it stopped, hung by the wires, and it landed between our house and the next door neighbor.
Wow.
And it hung there. And it's one of those ones that's like 60,000 volts. It's not like, you know, nothing. And it missed our house and our neighbor's house by probably 15 feet. And then hung in between. And we each had very minor damage. I mean, my fence blew down from the wind, but that has nothing to do with this. If only the wires landed on our roof, and both roofs had some shingles, you know, whatever, that was it. And I mean, I just feel very protected by the.
It sounds like a sign that God's not finished with you guys yet.
Apparently not, because it was, I mean, if it
Yeah.
had come 15 feet toward them, it would have smushed them
Yeah.
and they were home. 15 feet toward us, I'm standing right there and boom. And it came in between and hurt nothing.
Online congregation, I don't know if you could hear that whole story, but Susan was just sharing how there was a tree that came down, very nearly missed their house, and she's feeling
Is that up off of Condo?
very relieved.
Pardon me?
So,
Is that up off of Condo?
No, it's off of Whispering Pines on
Yeah.
Blueberry.
Donna.
Well, I'll share a personal God thing.
Uh-huh.
And both of my daughters said it exactly like I felt. God was in charge.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I had this fall that I had
Mhm.
in January, that most of you know, because I've had many of your prayers, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I so easily could have done so much more harm. But as I fell from these steps to my garage floor, I fell straight. And yes, I fractured the sacrum and I bled in the head and all that. But if I had tried to catch myself and turn my spine or done something to my legs more than they've already done, there's so many ways I could have done if I tried, but I went like a plank.
Boom.
Oh.
And it was not me in charge, because you
Yeah.
would think you would try to do something to catch her, but there's nothing to catch. And it was a God thing
Yeah.
that my daughter was there from Washington,
Yeah.
who only comes a couple times a year.
Wow.
But she was with you,
She
and
came
yeah.
right around the car, we
Yeah.
were going to lunch, and picked me up, and there we went to the ambulance, but I was not in charge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's,
He's not through with me yet. I got
God's not through with you yet either, Donna. And we're so glad that your daughter was with you when that happened.
Me too.
Annie and then Kay.
So yesterday, I was riding at Highway 1 with my friends. As we came back, I was going to go, there was traffic lights, the traffic lights were green, and I was going straight.
Uh-huh.
And as I was going straight, a big truck literally just came straight across right in front of me.
Whoa.
I don't know how it didn't hit me. I just don't know what I
Mhm.
did. How it didn't hit me. I had to turn right in a hurry and didn't fall off. But it was going really fast, and that
Yeah.
could have been a really nasty accident.
Yeah, that's a miracle.
So God's with you in that when you're, yeah. Thank you. Kay.
Well, I have great hope when I see all of the young people around the world who are so involved with things that are so important as we go forward.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking of Malala and
Yeah.
Thunberg, and I know there are many, many, many other young people whose names I don't know, but I know that they're out there, and I feel great hope for the future.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't look real great right now, I know that it's there, and
Yeah.
I know that our young people are a huge part of it.
And the voices of young people on the world stage showing leadership for transformation for a better world is huge. Thank you. What if, I just want to check our online congregation. Is there anyone in our online congregation that has a sign of hope that God is breathing new life into our world that they want to share? Okay, I just want to make sure that I did not miss any of you. All right, anyone else back in this room?
Yeah.
Tina,
Where's our, do we have a?
we have a mic, but it's over there. I'll go ahead and
I
talk.
will project. For me, it's the guests that we had at AFC that got housed and the high percentage of AFC guests. And there was one guest in particular that had a lot of, was a single mom of a newborn and had a lot of things going against her, and she got housed. And I'm grateful for how God used AFC to help that person find a solution that led to safety and dignity.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding us of that. And we, some of us heard those stories when Sam came to share, and thank you for reminding us that. That gives me hope too. Anyone else who wanted to share who hasn't had a chance?
Staying housed in this county is not easy.
All right. I encourage you to continue to talk about these signs of the new life that God is bringing us and the hope. I want to close just with a short poem. It's called Hope is the Thing with Feathers, and it's by Emily Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me.